human rights lawyer from Sweden, Lotta Lagnänder. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Our main topic is today the isolation on Kurdish leader Mr. Abdullah Öcalan, and basically the ECHR decisions that hasn't been implemented by Turkey as well. So my first question would be, what are your concerns about the current treatment of Abdullah Öcalan, leader APO? The isolation still continues on him. So what are your comments on isolation of leader Öcalan, and do you think it's against human rights? Let's start with this perspective.
To start with your last question, it is clearly against international laws, international conventions, to keep a person under those premises that Öcalan is kept on İmralı Island. He has been there for a long time, we all know that, and for the last 3 years he has been kept isolated, and this is nothing that can be accepted at all. You know, we will talk about that later, but to be kept in isolation is kind of a torture, and that's not acceptable.
So as you mentioned, this is a torture. So let's talk about the committee prevention of the torture. So the CPT has responsibilities, but since they haven't taken any action in the last 3 years, it seems they don't consider the isolation as unlawful. Or do you think they do not consider the isolation as a torture because it's the only commission that can visit İmralı Island, but they didn't visit the İmralı Island on their last visit to Turkey. Also, they didn't publish the report from the İmralı Island visit lately. Both the silence of the CPT and their uncleared approach to Öcalan's isolation, how would you consider the situation of the CPT?
It's difficult to I cannot explain how they think, the CPT. It's difficult for me and for other lawyers to give a kind of opinion of how they think. But from my point of view, I think it's unacceptable that they kind of don't use their possibility to pressure Turkey in a way of changing the circumstances for Mr. Öcalan, and also to tell the world and Turkey what's in the report. It's very, very strange. And I cannot really explain why they didn't go to İmralı at their last visit, but it's not only me that is puzzled about this. You know, we were an international delegation to Ahmed and Istanbul in February. We talked about this, we met his lawyers and we talked about this, and everyone is very puzzled and very concerned about this situation, that the CPT does not seem to be willing to come to a solution with this situation. Why it is like that, I guess it has to do with politics in somehow, but it's not up to me to go into that discussion. I think it's strange that a strong tool as a CPT does not interfere in this situation.
Thank you, Lotta. Also, about the ECHR decisions, one of them is the Europe Court of Human Rights decisions on the right to hope is not being implemented by Turkey, and
Mm,
there is many other decisions that Turkey doesn't implement the uh, decisions of the ECHR or European Council as well as European Parliament. But one of the most important one is the right to hope. Can you
mm.
tell us some more information about the right to hope? And it's already been 25 years that leader Öcalan is incarceration
Mm.
continues. So uh, do you think Mr. Öcalan doesn't have any right to hope as a human being? So how does that work? What kind of steps should be followed for him to have his right to hope?
Like, I would say the main problem with Turkey, from my point of view, is that they have a um, um, what do you say, neglecting attitude towards things like human rights. um, I mean, even if you are in jail, even if you are in imprisonment, you have the right of you of you have your human rights, and you have rights as a prisoner, and you have a right as a person inside, even if you are have made something wrong. If you understand what I mean? So whatever is the reason for you being in jail, it's not allowed for anyone to treat you bad. And that is what's happening in Turkey regarding Mr. Öcalan, but also regarding other prisoners. This isolation method are used all over the country, in prison and also in the society. Everyone has a right of hope. Everyone has the right, uh, certain rights, because they are human beings, and you cannot withdraw some people from that right. If you understand what I mean. I don't know if I answered your question now, but my main issue is that human rights are for everyone.
Thank you. So as our main topic is about Mr. Öcalan, and we are very well aware that every single person has human rights, but
Mm,
we can clearly see that Mr. Öcalan has been uh, hasn't been able to have his human rights, and he's representing millions of people, so he's
yeah,
just not a normal person
no.
basically, and he's a political prisoner. So how should the legal fight against isolation on Öcalan should be? What should be done to legal way to break this isolation?
I think you have to continue to work on from different perspective, from different angles. His lawyers need to continue to do what they have done for so long, to ask for visits, to continue to try to get to meet him, and so on. But I also think that this is an important step that has been made with this international delegations who are coming to Turkey. We were in Turkey 2023. We were in Turkey a couple of months ago. And I think it's important that we meet people in Turkey to give us information about Mr. Öcalan's situation, so we can bring it to the world society, because this has to be known what's going on. And we had a conference in Brussels in the middle of April, where we discussed about those issues. And there will be a continuing work now with a group of lawyers who will start to make a plan for a long-term work to get a pressure on CPT, to spread the word about Mr. Öcalan's situation, about the situation in Turkey. And we will also, there is a petition written by lawyers, in a great amount of lawyers in Turkey, about Mr. Öcalan's isolation. And we are going to write a similar petition signed by international lawyers as well. So we have to start to build a pressure on Turkey in this issue. On legal grounds, it's important to use the legal possibilities to build this pressure.
Thank you. Just to close down the topic about the CPT, would like to ask you that one as well. So there is, even in the CPT's own reports, there are mentions of torture on Imrali, the ones that has been published before. So despite this, if the CPT still doesn't go to Imrali, and do legal experts not see this as a CPT exploiting its duty? So how can a legal struggle can be developed against this? You try to explain this, but we need to get a little deeper into this, because you are an expert lawyer, and our audience would like to know how should be the legal fight against the CPT's position. So how can the CPT's visit to Imrali uh, can be transparently disclosure of its reports be ensured within a legal framework? Like, what needs to be done against this CPT's uh, position? Because right now they are keeping their position not to say anything about
No.
Öcalan and Imral Island.
It's a little bit difficult for me to give you a good enough answer, but I think that this is one of the topics that need to be discussed on the upcoming conference that we are going to have, hopefully, in the end of this year. We are talking about a 2-day conference, because we need to have a thorough look on how we can use, as you say, the legal framework to come to get CPT to publish the report and to try to visit Imrali. Hope the best is if they could go there. No one knows how Mr. Öcalan has it, even if he's alive. But this is kind of a work that is not done. Sorry to say, it's not a quick fix. We have to start a process that probably will take some time, but we have to start it. And of course, when you can't get CPT to present the report, you start to think, why? Why will they not publish their report?
Thank you, Lotta. So let's talk a little more about Mr. Öcalan and his importance. So the Kurdish question is one of the deepest questions in the Middle East. For you, how important is the solution of Kurdish question for the region and for the whole world as well?
I think it's very, very important to come to a solution. And in that solution, you have the importance of finding a solution to Mr. Öcalan's isolation at Imrali. It's very, very important that we find a way to solve that, and that is what everyone tells told us when we were in Turkey. We met women's organization, we met lawyers, we met NGOs of different kind of NGOs and so on, and everyone said the same. To get to a solution, they all wanted to be peaceful, but to get to that solution, it's very important that the situation concerning Mr. Öcalan is a part of that. We also had a participant from South Africa with us in the delegation, because there's a close connection between the Kurds and the South African people and the Mr. Öcalan and leaders in South Africa. But also, it was my impression that it's important for the Kurds to discuss how the process were done in South Africa after the freedom of Mr. Mandela, because there are similarities.
Yeah, thank you. But as you remember, Mr. Mandela's period of time while he was in jail, he was able to see his lawyers even
Yeah.
under the apartheid regime, but Turkey doesn't let Mr. Öcalan to see his lawyers and family as well. So in that case, what is your call to Turkey to stop this isolation as it's against human rights?
My call to Turkey is that stop the isolation method regarding Mr. Öcalan, regarding every Kurdish person in the Turkish jail, regarding organization working for human rights and so on. Just stop it, because this is against human rights to act like this. And we can also, if I may say, see that this is starting to spread in Europe, in different countries, Hungary, Spain, Italy. So this has to be stopped. And this is why you also have to awaken the society, countries, not just in Turkey. So, but my call to Turkey is to start acting as the conventions say that you should act. Start respect human rights for everyone, in jail or not.
Thank you. So lastly, would like to ask you that one as well. Since 10th of October, there is a campaign that Kurds and their friends running. Is called Freedom for Öcalan, Political Solution for Kurdish Question. How do you see this campaign? How important it is for you? It's an international campaign. So what is your solidarity message with the campaign and Freedom for Öcalan?
I think, as a lawyer, that it's very, very important to do what I can do as a lawyer with legal frameworks and so on. But it's also very, very important to build a pressure from what we usually say grassroots, from people, from movements. So I think it's very important to have this kind of campaigns, because they are one part of what can make a difference. Lawyers working for human rights is another piece of puzzle, and politicians are also another piece of puzzles. So it's very, very important, and we have to stand in solidarity from our different perspectives to get a solution on this problem. It's not a good word, but you understand what I mean, regarding Mr. Öcalan, but also regarding the situation in the whole world.
Thank you, dear Lotta, international human rights lawyer from Sweden, Lotta Lagnänder. Thanks for joining us and thank you for your valuable comments.
Thank you very, very much. It was a pleasure and an honor to be with you, and I hope that I have can bring some light on how we lawyers look upon this issue.